After looking up what inspired this film, I found an interview where the director Tom Moore said, "We talked a little about the folklore from around this area in Ireland, in Kilkenny, called the Wolves of Ossory. And at that time, there's a documentary on Irish television called Wolfland. It talked about how Oliver Cromwell and the British tried to eliminate wolves from Ireland to symbolically tame the country. So, we had all those ingredients and more, and we started mixing it up, and that's how we came up with the story." And after I heard the interview, I decided to look up the stories myself. When it comes to the Wolves of Ossory, there are usually two men given credit for it depending on how much research you do. The one that I found to have many stories with the Wolves of Ossory was St. Patrick. The second man given credit was St. Natalis of Kilkenny, and it is said that the version with St. Patrick is wrong, since he is often confused with St. Natalis. According to legend, St. Patrick once punished the Welsh king Vereticus by transforming him into a wolf. While St. Patrick was in Ireland, he became so disgusted with certain tribes that continued to resist his efforts to convert them to Christianity that he cursed them and condemned them to become werewolves. The spell fell on the poor tribesmen and caused them to turn into werewolves every 7 years. They would stay in wolf form for 7 years, then once the years passed they would turn back into humans, but only for another 7 years, then it was back to wolf all over again. It was a horrible vicious cycle, 7 years as a wolf, 7 as a human, and it wouldn't stop until they died. But during their 7 years as a werewolf, they weren't denied the sacraments of the church. In 1191, a man named Geraldus Cambrensis recorded the testimony of a priest that swore that he had once given a sacrament to a werewolf. Throughout the years, travelers to Ireland insisted that they had met entire families of werewolves, and that they had even seen some people transform into wolves. Up until the end of the 18th century, Ireland was known as Wolfland. This legend of St. Patrick turning unbelievers into werewolves could very well be a fabricated story, used to scare people into turning to Christianity. This thing was done quite often throughout the old world. They would tell the people that if they led sinful lives, they would be turned into a vampire or a werewolf or some other monster. And that's actually how we have so many stories that we have today. Think of it as telling a child that if he doesn't behave, the boogeyman will get him. Same deal. But who knows? Maybe St. Patrick did turn the pagans into werewolves for not bringing Christ into their hearts. But regardless, this was a cruel punishment simply because they were pagans and had different beliefs. The term pagan itself is a derogatory term used by Christians back in the day to describe those who believe in what they believe to be false gods, instead of their singular God whom they believe to be the one true God. An unnamed priest was traveling from Ulster to Meath on an important mission with his assistant, a young boy. The two stopped for the night near woods at the edge of the Sea of Ossory. As they lay down to sleep, the priest hears a human voice calling from the nearby forest. He gets up and looking out into the darkness sees a giant wolf draw near. The priest and the boy draw back in horror, but the wolf speaks in a human voice and tells them not to be afraid. "We are natives of Ossory," the wolf said. From there, every 7 years, because of the imprecation of a certain saint, namely the abbot Natalis, 2 persons, a man and a woman, are compelled to go into exile, not only from their territory but also from their bodily shape. "But how came you by this fearsome form?" the priest asked in wonder. "And why must you wear it for 7 years?" "I am a member of the clan Alta, a tribe of this region," the wolf answered. "And like yourself, father, we are believers in Jesus Christ and in the power of his salvation. However, in times long past, we were cursed for some ancient sin by the blessed abbot Natalis." The priest had heard of Natalis, who had come to Ireland shortly after the blessed Patrick to bring the word of God to a dark and pagan land. He had even read some of the holy man's works. He had always imagined Natalis to be exceedingly severe and inflexible in his teachings, and one who would brook no deviation from his own interpretations of God's law. "The sin which my clan committed has long been forgotten," said the wolf. "But the curse is still in force. Every 7 years, 2 of us must lose our mortal form to wear the skin of a wild wolf, and we must live in the deep woods away from our clan. When the 7 years are up, we shed our animal form and regain our human shape, and 2 others must take our place. It is a terrible burden, father, and one that will never be lifted, for Natalis is long dead." The wolf asked the priest to accompany him into the woods to give the last rites to his mate, the female wolf. The priest is full of terror that the wolf will kill him, but follows the wolf into the woods nonetheless. He gives the dying wolf communion and blesses her. The male wolf returns the priest to his campfire and bids him farewell, loping back into the forest. The priest calls out after him saying that he would return. And on his way back from Ulster, the priest stopped in the woods of Ossory and searched for the werewolves, but did not find any trace of them. In one account, it is told when the holy Saint Patricius, St. Patrick, preached Christianity in that country, there was one clan which opposed him more stubbornly than any other people in the land. And these people strove to do insult in many ways both to God and to the holy man. And when he was preaching the faith to them and to others, and came to confer with them when they held their assemblies, they adopted the plan of howling at him like wolves. St. Patrick responded by praying to God to punish the clan, resulting in them suffering a fitting and severe marvelous punishment. For it is told that all the members of the clan are changed into wolves for a period of time and roam the woods feeding upon the same food as wolves. But they are worse than wolves, for in all their wiles they have the wits of men, though they are as eager to devour men as to destroy other creatures. Oliver Cromwell was an English general and statesman who led the Parliament of England's armies against King Charles I during the English Civil War and ruled the British Isles as Lord Protector from 1653 until his death in 1658. It is said that Cromwell was a cruel man who, by his own account, reveled in the fact that he killed and tortured innocent people, including friars, priests, and civilians. He led a military campaign in Ireland as a way to reconquer the country on behalf of the English Parliament. His campaign caused devastation in much of the country. With the increasing number of farm animals needed to feed them all, the number of wolves also increased, and they were seen as a threat to business since they would attack the livestock. This is when a bulk of the anti-wolf legislation took place. The level of rewards and bounties established by Oliver Cromwell's regime attracted a few professional wolf hunters to Ireland, mostly from England. Politically, the prospect of numbers of armed Irish roaming around the country hunting wolves was not acceptable, given the ongoing conflict between the Irish and the new English settlers, so it was seen as much safer for the English authorities to encourage men from their own country to deal with the wolf problem. The hunting of wolves continued for a long time after Cromwell left Ireland, and the last reliable observation of a wolf in Ireland comes from County Carlow, when a wolf was hunted down and killed near Mount Leinster for killing sheep in 1786. Currently, captive wolves reside at Dublin Zoo and the Wild Ireland Nature Reserve on the Inner Shoal Peninsula. In 2019, Green Party leader Eamon Ryan called for the reintroduction of wolves to help rewild the countryside and control deer numbers. Unfortunately, however, the Irish government has no plans to do so at this time. And I just want to quickly point out that there are quite a few manga and anime characters that have the Cromwell name. And while I'm not sure that they are all meant to somehow be a reference to Oliver Cromwell, most of these characters are seen as the antagonists in one way or another, and tend to be power hungry. Wolfwalkers is an animated fantasy adventure film directed by Tom Moore and Ross Stewart, and was produced by Cartoon Saloon and Melusine Productions. Cartoon Saloon has done quite a few TV shows, short films, and films, and even teamed up with Japanese film director and animator Mamoru Hosoda and Disney veteran Jin Kim to create the newly released anime film titled Belle. Wolfwalkers is the third and final installment in Moore's Irish Folklore Trilogy, following his previous films The Secret of Kells and Song of the Sea. And they are now part of a 4-disc Blu-ray box set to be released on December 14th in North America. It is available for pre-order on Amazon for $79.98. This limited edition Irish Folklore Trilogy box set features the exclusive Blu-ray presentation of Wolfwalkers, since at this time it cannot be bought separately like the others, and can only be watched if you are subscribed to Apple TV+. This box set also includes animatics and bonus features for the 3 films never released before in North America. It is presented in beautiful and environmentally friendly packaging that reflects each film's living depiction of the natural world, and the art includes an original illustration by Cartoon Saloon. Also included is a poster and an illuminating 2,000-word essay by film critic Andy Crump about the lauded animation studio Cartoon Saloon, the origins and creation of these incredible films, and their role in the world of animation and the world at large. Now onto the film itself. The film begins with men chopping down trees in the forest, when suddenly a pack of wolves come out and attack them, scratching one of the woodcutters across his chest twice, and just before they could injure him further, a howl is heard and all the wolves stop what they're doing and leave. Out of the dense forest appears a woman and her daughter along with a pack of wolves. He is surprised that they have not come to kill him, but to magically heal the scratches obtained from their packmates, and once they finish healing him, they have him leave the forest. We are then shown the main character, a young girl named Robin Goodfellow, as she practices shooting a crossbow at a poster of a wolf. She then hides it when her father, wolf hunter Bill Goodfellow, arrives home from work, since she was supposed to be doing chores while he was out hunting. She begs her father to allow her to go hunting with him, but he tells her no, saying that the Lord Protector Cromwell has ordered all children to stay inside the town. Robin isn't happy about staying inside, and sneaks out of town to follow her dad, with her pet falcon Merlin. Once in the forest, she comes upon a shepherd being attacked by a wolf, and tries to shoot it, only to be bumped into by a sheep, causing her to accidentally shoot Merlin, and she then watches a mysterious girl take him away. But before she can go after them, her father appears and carries her off towards town, where the Lord Protector scolds Robin for not working in his scullery, and gives Bill 2 days to kill the wolves. After being helped by a certain woodcutter, Robin manages to sneak back into the woods and finds Merlin fully healed. They are then approached by a young wolf, and out of fear, Robin stumbles into a trap. As the wolf attempts to free Robin, she tries to attack it, causing the wolf to bite her arm accidentally. Once free, Merlin and the wolf lead Robin to the wolf's den, where she finds out that the wolf is the same mysterious girl from earlier. The girl, named Maeve, is a wolfwalker, and she magically heals Robin's wound. Maeve then leads Robin back into town, and the 2 girls get to know more about each other, and quickly bond over their desire for freedom. Once home, Robin tries to convince her father that wolfwalkers exist, and that they can be the non-violent solution to the wolf problem, since they can make the other wolves leave. But her father doesn't listen, and is upset she disobeyed the Lord Protector's orders. The next morning, while working her first day in the scullery, she is drawn into the Lord Protector's chambers by a mysterious voice, and discovers a large concealed cage inside. But before she can get closer, the head maid ushers her out. That night, while she's asleep, Robin finds that she has transformed into a wolf, making her a wolfwalker, and is forced to flee town when her father tries to shoot her. She makes it back to the wolf's den, and Maeve is ecstatic to learn of Robin's transformation, since she thought they were the last of their kind, and explains that wolfwalkers are humans when awake and wolves when asleep. She helps Robin get accustomed to her new wolf form, while the song Running with the Wolves, sung by Aurora, is heard in the background. Before she returns to town, Robin promises Maeve that she will help her find her mother. Upon returning to town, Robin is drawn to the Lord Protector's manor. She finds that it's Maeve's mother Moll in the cage. Moll tells Robin to instruct Maeve to leave the woods with the pack, as they are no longer safe there. Unable to free Moll, Robin manages to evade the Lord Protector and return to her human form. When the Lord Protector appears to reassure the townspeople about a wolf being in town, Robin pleads with him to let Moll go, since she is a wolfwalker, but her pleas do not work, since the Lord Protector deemed it pagan nonsense. When Robin does not meet Maeve the next day, since she is now forced to obey orders, Maeve decides to find Robin herself. When she finds her, Maeve is hurt by Robin's refusal to help rescue her mother, and telling her to leave the forest without her. Before Maeve leaves town, she hears people speak of a wolf being put on the stage and she runs towards it. Maeve and Robin then watch the Lord Protector present a muzzle-to-chain Moll to the townspeople. An enraged Maeve storms the stage to free her, and when Bill tries restraining her, Moll breaks from the muzzle and bites his arm. Moll is put back in the cage, forcing Maeve to flee, but promises to return with her pack to rescue her mother. The Lord Protector orders Bill to kill Moll, before setting off with his army to wage war against the wolves. Robin protects Moll from Bill, before freeing her and reuniting her with Maeve, before she and her pack can attack Kilkenny, earning Maeve's forgiveness. Bill arrives and shoots Moll in the chest, fearful for Robin's safety, and witnesses Moll's wolf form turning into a spirit and leave to return to her human form in the den, Maeve and the wolves following it. Robin transforms into her wolf form and follows, just before the Lord Protector and his army arrive and begin burning the forest. As Maeve works to heal a grievously wounded Moll, she has her pack follow Robin, who leads them to attack the army to keep them from reaching Maeve and Moll. Robin thwarts a cannon attack aimed at the den, and gets injured as a result. But before the Lord Protector can kill her, Bill, due to Moll's bite, becomes a wolfwalker and attacks the Lord Protector in his wolf form. Bill, with help from Robin in her human form, overpowers the Lord Protector and holds him with his teeth over the edge of a cliff. Realizing the bite will make him a wolfwalker, the Lord Protector resigns to his fate and willingly plunges himself into the jagged rocks below, preferring death over becoming a pagan wolfwalker. Robin and Bill manage to return to the den, where they both help Maeve and the pack revive Moll, who invites Bill and Robin to stay with them and embrace their new identities as wolfwalkers. Robin, Maeve, Bill, and Moll then travel with their pack to find a new home, riding in a carriage drawn by the Lord Protector's horse. Bill puts a flower in Moll's hair, perhaps hinting there is something between them, and Maeve and Robin are asleep in the back, with their wolf forms running around the carriage, excited for the new adventures to come. Besides the movie itself, there's also a graphic novel that retells the story with a bit more detail, as well as an introduction that the movie did not include, explaining what wolfwalkers are by using the St. Patrick's story, which is great for those who don't know anything about the stories that inspired this film. There is also the Art of Wolfwalkers book, which is filled with exclusive hand-drawn sketches, paintings, interviews, and digital renderings that showcase Cartoon Saloon's unique artistic style. 4 ebooks are also out for beginning readers, and each page features images from the film paired with simple sentences for young readers. A pronunciation guide and word list enhance the educational value. If you have an iPhone, you can download Wolfwalker stickers for iMessages in the App Store. There is a limited edition 3-pin set. The first one depicts the Wolfwalker cycle, the second depicts Maeve, and the third depicts a poster of a wolf. And if you scan them, you can experience some AR content. There are also a variety of different coloring books, with various illustrations available on Amazon. And though they may seem like a lot, some of them have the same illustrations and just have a different cover page. And I just recently found out that there's a board game based on this film, and the objective of this game is to find 3 parts of the wolf's soul in one color and bring it back to the lair before soldiers, who start in the town area on one side of the board, reach the lair on the opposite side of the board. There's another game called Wolfwalkers My Story, where 2 players compete to craft a better story using cards from a shared deck, with those cards bearing illustrations from the film. You either take an objective card that lets you know how to score points, or a story card that helps you fulfill your objective cards. After both players complete their 5x5 grid, the game ends, and the player with the most points wins. It comes with 110 cards. There were also 2 sets of puzzles, one being a 200-piece puzzle and the other being a 1,000-piece puzzle. I'm not a huge fan of either board games or puzzles, but I might just give these a try. I really love this film, from the fact that it's drawn in traditional 2D animation instead of the typical 3D and CGI animation we see nowadays, the inclusion of Irish and Celtic mythology, because of course I love mythology, the teaching of tolerance for those who are different from ourselves, and the sisterly bond between the female leads, who just might have ended up becoming real sisters if the ending scene with their parents is any indication.